Good morning. Korean President Park Geun-hye is in Beijing to attend the APEC forum. Several important sideline issues await the president, including finalizing the FTA with China. 25 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, a 10-mile-long light installation is installed where the wall once stood. 8,000 balloons containing personal messages are released. A single twig breaks easily, but a bundle of twigs is strong. No matter how weak one is as a single man, when people join together with one motive and one goal, the strength of the masses cannot be overlooked. A 돌잔치 is what's known as a Korean way of celebrating a baby's first birthday. Unique and festive. Get a look at what 돌잔치 is all about on Korea Today, Monday, November 10th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And once again, it's a Monday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I am Kim Young alongside Oh Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. Germany and also the world are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, and a massive open-air party called a Citizens' Party was held in the German capital. In the meantime, a special event was held in Seoul as well to commemorate this landmark event.
Right. The German embassy in Seoul held a special running event along the Cheonggyecheon stream yesterday. And the starting point of this race was at the so-called Berlin Wall near the Cheonggyecheon stream, which was set up in 2005, displaying an actual piece of the Berlin Wall from Germany, wishing for the reunification of the two Koreas, as Korea is the only divided country in the world.
That's right. And the German chancellor has said that the fall of the wall symbolizes that dreams can come true.
Right.
We'll have more on that with our Eunice Kim joining us later on in the show. But first, here are the domestic headlines. President Park Geun-hye has arrived in Beijing to attend an annual summit of leaders from the Asia-Pacific region for 2 days, starting on this Monday. On the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, President Park is scheduled to have a one-on-one with her Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping today, where she will discuss bilateral and regional issues, including the free trade agreement that the two sides hope to sign before the year's end. She is also expected to sit down with U.S. President Barack Obama before flying to Myanmar on Wednesday for the East Asia Summit. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe had proposed holding a summit with President Park this time around, but the Korean leader has been and is likely to rebuff such calls once again, urging Tokyo to settle the issue of military sexual enslavement of Korean women once and for all.
A group made up of volunteering doctors, nurses, and military officers will be stationed at the Ebola Treatment Center, still under construction in Sierra Leone's capital city of Freetown. On Sunday, officials announced the group will be there to help West African countries that have been hit by the deadly disease, a follow-up of Korea's pledge to participate in the global efforts to contain the deadly virus. Korea has so far pledged $5.6 million to support the fight against Ebola. Officials say the final team will be chosen based on the expertise of the 145 doctors and nurses who applied to join the team and select military health workers. The personnel will work closely with the British team. An advanced team of 12 officials will first travel to the area to make a precursory assessment of the situation.
Americans Kenneth Bae and Matthew Todd Miller, who were freed from captivity in North Korea on Saturday, are now back with their families in the United States. Their release comes amid a rare trip by the U.S. intelligence chief James Clapper to Pyongyang, during which she is known to have delivered a letter from U.S. President Barack Obama describing Clapper as the president's special envoy that is being sent to bring the two Americans home. But the release of the two Americans are raising many questions about North Korea's true intentions behind the move. We'll talk about those questions with Professor Brian Myers from Dongsa University, who joins us on the line this morning. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
So North Korea's release of Mr. Bae and Mr. Miller came rather abruptly. What do you think prompted the North to make such a decision? And do you think the latest international pressure on the North Korean regime regarding its systematic human rights abuses had anything to do with the sudden release of the two Americans?
Well, they released Jeffrey Fowles a week ago, the other American which they had detained, so it wasn't that surprising. I do think that pressure about human rights has something to do with these releases, because North Korea is obviously pretty worried about the United Nations referring it to the International Criminal Court. That would be a big loss of faith for the regime in front of its citizens. And I also think that North Korea might be trying to improve its image with the Christian community in the United States, which has traditionally been a significant source of aid to North Korea. And finally, I think Pyongyang may be trying to make the Chinese nervous by opening up a line of communication with China's adversary, the United States.
Mm-hmm. And do you think there is something the North Korean regime wants in exchange of the release of the U.S. citizens?
Well, I think they may already have what they wanted. The American State Department has said that it gave nothing, but that's the typical kind of statement that the Americans make in cases like this, and I find it pretty hard to believe. The North Koreans have always been much better negotiators than the Americans, and they're certain to have received either a monetary settlement or some White House assurance that the pressure on it for its human rights abuses is going to be reduced, which I think is unfortunate because this will only encourage the North to continue arresting foreign citizens on some pretext or another.
Mm-hmm. Now, Professor, upon the release of the two Americans, the South Korean government urged the North to release a South Korean missionary detained in that country, but Pyongyang has yet to give a response to that. Do you think North Korea's recent change in attitude towards the U.S. will have any effect on its behavior towards the South?
Well, traditionally, North Korea has never pursued good relations with both Washington and Seoul at the same time. When the relationship with the United States gets better, the relationship with South Korea gets worse, and vice versa. It's all part of Pyongyang's strategy to divide and conquer, so to speak. So I'm skeptical, and also the South Korean public is not nearly as interested in this missionary as the American public was interested in those two detainees. So that's going to influence how much pressure Seoul puts on Pyongyang. But as you know, with North Korea, you always have to expect the unexpected, so I wouldn't count anything out.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for your time and insight this morning, Professor Myers.
Sure thing.
That was Professor Brian Myers from Dongso University on the implications of North Korea's recent release of two U.S. detainees.
Good Monday morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, as expected, two main stories are all over the local papers this morning. One is North Korea's release of Kenneth Bae and Matthew Todd Miller. The other is on the Korea-China FTA. We'll begin with the first former issue that I just mentioned. And this is on 동아일보. The headline says South Korea looks on as North Korea-U.S. relations thaw, China-Japan reconciles. So the title pretty much sums up the situation as it is on the diplomatic scene. Taking a look at these sub-headlines. Firstly, North Korea's release this past weekend of its two remaining U.S. detainees appears to be aimed at easing the growing international pressure to improve its human rights record and its deepening isolation. Now, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, as you heard earlier, visited the North as a presidential envoy and accompanied Bae and Miller on their way back to the U.S. And here they are in these images, finally in the arms of their families. Now, this event is expected to create the momentum for dialogue between the U.S. and the North. Meanwhile, the Daily is also taking note of the developing relationship between China and Japan. While South Korea refuses to hold summit talks with Japan due to the ongoing historical dispute, China and Japan have agreed to open such dialogue opportunities on the sidelines of the APEC summit, signaling fears that only South Korea is drifting away from the diplomatic front line. And before going on to that FTA story, we'll take a look at two local headlines. First on Gyeongyang Shinmun. This one is on the side of the front page, and it's regarding local companies. The article is titled "Large Outlet Malls Take Over Local Commercial Districts." And looking at these sub-headlines now, some of the major distribution companies are colliding interests with smaller local stores as they continue to bring in those same luxury fashion goods as smaller stores and thus overlapping with the region's commercial market. And with no particular restricting or limiting measures put in place, the small and medium-sized businesses are left to suffer heavily and even wither away. Now turning to 조선일보 for another headline, this one towards the bottom of the front page, regarding less expensive wedding culture here. This is titled 40 of 41 couples say they are satisfied that they had small wedding ceremonies. According to a survey done by The Daily on 41 married couples that had put on smaller and less expensive weddings than the norm here in Korea, 40 of them responded that they were indeed satisfied with having chosen to hold smaller wedding ceremonies. Now, these couples spent about half the amount compared to the average sum spent on Korean weddings these days, also inviting a total of just 100 to 200 people. Now, 25 couples out of the 41 had spent less than about $9,000 US in total. And on the other hand, most newlyweds that had spent more than $50,000 on their weddings said they were having a difficult time dealing with the aftermath of such a huge spending. And finally, we'll go on to that story on the Korea-China FTA. And this is the headline on the Korea Economic Daily. And it reads, Korea-China FTA negotiations dramatically reach deal early this morning. So this is according to this daily. Korea and China have come to the end of negotiations on a bilateral free trade agreement earlier this morning. Looking at the sub-headlines, it says the conclusion of the FTA comes in 22 years' time since the two countries established diplomatic ties in 1992. Ahead of a presidential summit scheduled for today between the two sides, this daily reports that trade officials from both governments made last-minute efforts in Beijing, where the APEC conference is being hosted, to conclude the 14th round of their FTA talks. And this is to provide a stepping stone for new growth for the Korean economy. And that was a look at our local headlines for this Monday. Now following are the stock numbers from Friday.
The morning is off to a chilly start. This Monday morning, it's around 4 degrees Celsius here in Seoul.
I think it's a lot colder inside the studio today than it is outside. But will we get a break from it? We'll go to Chun Sung-cho for more on the weather.
Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Plenty of sunshine and clear conditions. Yesterday's weather was perfect to enjoy your Sunday. The autumn foliage is in full swing, as well as the temperature gap between the highs and lows is widening. This morning we're seeing a lot colder conditions right now. It started with a cold air mass lingering in the upper atmosphere, with radiational cooling overnight really bringing the temperatures down. Cold wave advisories have been issued in parts of Gyeongsang-buk-do province, and some of you in areas who are inland will wake up to frost and freeze this morning as well. In Seoul, the current temperatures are 6 degrees Celsius, so make sure you bundle up on your way out this morning. The skies are mostly clear all throughout the country due to the high pressure system in the west, except for the southern regions where they have a bit of passing clouds. With that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings. Midday highs will hover in the upper teens all around the country. Seoul will be relatively chilly at 16 and Busan the warmest at 19 degrees Celsius. We have nationwide rain in store for this Wednesday and a cold spell on Thursday, which is the day of the college entrance exam in Korea. This is all from me with the weather forecast. I'll be back later in the show to show you a special bazaar. Back to you, Minjung.
Tens of thousands of people in Berlin are remembering the fall of the Berlin Wall 25 years ago. Some vivid memories and powerful footage to go along with that on this Monday morning. Our Eunice Kim has all of that for us. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning, Min-jung.
The ceremony wrapped up just a few hours ago, I believe, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel delivered a 20-minute speech. Tell us more about what she had to say on this historic anniversary.
Yeah, Chancellor Angela Merkel herself had grown up in communist East Germany, and in light of the 25th anniversary, she said the fall of the wall showed that dreams can come true and that things can change for the better. Let's take a peek at the remembrance that took place in front of Berlin's Brandenburg Gate just a few hours ago. A minute of silence was held in memory of the people who had died while trying to cross the heavily fortified barrier that had separated the capitalist West Berlin from the communist East. German Chancellor Angela Merkel described the wall's destruction as an example of human yearning for freedom that has application today in war-torn countries such as Iraq, Syria, and Ukraine. Mikhail Gorbachev, former leader of the Soviet Union, credited for his role in reuniting Berlin back in 1989, also at the quarter-century festivities, warned that U.S.-Russia tensions over Ukraine have put the world on the brink of a new Cold War. Meanwhile, a border of lights was lit up along the 15-kilometer stretch of the former Cold War barrier as the 8,000 illuminated balloons one by one were released to signify the dissolution. Now, U.S. President Barack Obama has signaled a new phase in the fight against the Islamic State militants as his country prepares to double up on the number of military advisors dispatched to Iraq. In an interview with CBS News' Face the Nation, President Obama said the deployment of up to 1,500 more troops does not change the fact that the American military personnel will not engage in combat. He said Phase 2 would be marked by an offensive posture if Phase 1 was a defensive one, as an inclusive and credible central government was being established in Iraq. Meanwhile, Iraqi officials say a weekend airstrike wounded the leader of the IS group, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, a claim the Pentagon has not confirmed. Washington, though, has put a $10 million bounty on his head.
Meanwhile, in Spain, hundreds of thousands of Catalonians went to the polls on Sunday to vote in a largely symbolic poll on whether or not theirs should be a state independent from Spain.
Right, and that vote moved forward despite an order by Spain's constitutional court to suspend the unconstitutional referendum, as they called it. Catalonia is a wealthy region of Spain with Barcelona as its capital. The region and its 7.5 million people have contributed more to the Spanish economy than they had gotten back from the central government, fueling nationalism and the desire to be its own state apart from Spain, which is exactly what people had voted on Sunday. We won't know the results until later Monday, possibly Tuesday Korea time, but the Catalan government did say it recorded nearly 2 million people having participated in this referendum as of 2 hours before some 6,700 polling stations were closed. And Min-jung Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy said the vote would have no effect and instead urged the region to return to sanity.
But 2 million people, quite a turnout there.
Absolutely.
We'll have to leave it at that. Thank you, Eunice.
You bet.
And still to come on Korea today, we're going to meet a Korean man in Bahrain who's made a name for himself as the millionaire garbage man, and we'll find out why. We'll also have a clip about what's so lovable about Korea, plus some fun and useful secrets on how to put a baby to sleep. All of this and much more coming up on Viral Feed.
A single twig may break easily, but a bundle of twigs, now that's a whole different story. In Korea, there's a saying that 1 step by 100 is greater than 1 step or 100 steps taken by one. In other words, when more people join in, more power is exerted. Now, since last week, we brought you a report on national cohesion, and this week we'll be looking at social integration and how it is and where it stands today.
There is no country that is free from social conflicts, which hamper public cohesion. Regional self-centeredness, or NIMBY, not in my backyard, opposes new developments of public facilities near their residents. Religious and racial conflicts due to different ideologies. Generation gaps from rapid cultural change. And other social conflicts are hindering public integration and have become an obstacle for sustainable economic development.
For example, people approve establishing a town of legal firms while opposing the building of a prison. Yes to an airport, but no to an airbase. This could ultimately lead to a disintegration of a nation. We need to have a nationwide discussion to address national conflict issues. So I believe we need to set a clear standard for public consensus.
In order to resolve social conflicts, preventing national cohesion, new proposals are emerging to revise irrational laws and regulations. Last month, a nationwide open forum kicked off in the southern city of Daejeon. Experts, college students, and people from all walks of life gathered at the forum. With these open discussions, there is an opportunity to develop national consensus and a system to resolve social conflicts. These open discussions and exchange of ideas are helping to map blueprints for Korea.
Social cohesion can start in small ways in our daily life. We have been promoting small action, bigger value movement. We've traveled to 9 cities and provinces and held a series of open discussions. After 30 forums, we have identified public interest and we've contributed in eliminating laws that can create social conflict, such as eliminating region of origin on driver's licenses.
According to private research, regional conflict causes an economic loss of $22.6 billion. This is equal to nearly 70% of this year's government budget of $32.8 billion. Such social conflicts cost between $7.5 billion and $22.6 billion every year. So what are the social conflicts that the Korean public faces in their daily life?
We must eradicate prejudice. Korea can only advance further once we change the current society where one's success is determined by educational background.
Generational conflict is a major issue. Young and old generations cannot communicate with each other. Also, the younger generation dislikes my generation. We need to have a dialogue, but they just oppose each other's opinions unilaterally.
Then, what are the major social conflicts hampering national cohesion? They are mainly regional, labor management, ideological, and public conflicts. Today, we simply cannot ignore these major rifts in Korean society. Not in my backyard syndrome reaches far and wide, opposing a new development of public facilities. Back in March, Hanam, Gyeonggi-do Province recreated food waste disposal plant into an underground facility. On the ground level, more facilities were built for local residents to enjoy. Residents of one village strongly opposed building cemeteries and funeral halls near their residence. After 14 years of dispute, it was resolved by establishing a memorial park instead of a cemetery. In order to resolve the issues, Korea continues dialogue and works towards compromises between local government and residents.
Building public facilities can increase affinity between the government and local residents. Offering various convenient aspects for the public to enjoy offsets opposition of building unpleasant facilities, thus creating economic and cultural values. Local residents should also find solutions to welcome public facilities built with creative efforts.
A local government in Seoul visits areas at the center of public controversy with local residents. This type of cooperation paves the way for national cohesion. Korea is actively moving forward to achieve social unity. Like the old saying, well begun is half done. Experts see a bright future ahead of Korea as it makes a step toward national cohesion.
As we stay close to the residents, their ideas are implemented in actual policies. The higher the public participation, the better policies that are made. So events like this play an important role.
Though we have much more to tackle ahead, these first steps have already begun, laying the groundwork towards national cohesion, and perhaps to Korean reunification in the future.
Still ahead on Korea Today, #Curious in Korea. Korean parents throw a huge birthday party 1 year after their child is born. Why do they go all out for a party that their baby will most likely not even remember? Chelsea Arnold from the U.S. decides to find out why, and she'll share her findings with us on Korea Today.
Now, despite strict regulations against it, North Korean citizens are still finding ways to access foreign or South Korean media.
That's right. And the latest trend is apparently to use MP5 players. We'll find out more with our Seomi Sorang, who joins us in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. So last year, the trend was the portable DVD players with the USB ports. But this year, it's the MP5 players. They look like this, and they're usually made in China. And through the small screen, North Koreans enjoy various South Korean popular media such as Girls' Generation or Tiara music videos. The device handles micro SD chips where countless movies, dramas, and music videos can be stored. And because the chips are very tiny and removable, it's very easy to hide them if the need arises.
You know, we often talk about North Korea being the most reclusive country.
Hermit kingdom.
Right, and North Koreans really have no access to the outside world. This might give them a peek into what's outside, what happens around the world. But
Exactly.
how do they get their hands on this device?
So it's usually brought in by North Korean businessmen that go back and forth to China for business, and then it's sold secretly through underground black markets.
Interesting.
Now, for news that has many fans in disbelief, supporters pouring in for Little Chon Min-woo. Now, also known as Little Psy, he first came to fame back in 2011 for impersonating Psy on Korean and Chinese TV shows. Unfortunately, over the weekend, though, it was revealed that he had been battling brain tumor over the past 3 months. So a lot of people are sending prayers his way. Now, wrapping up, starting today, there's a change to family registration law. So up until now, when you went to get one of these official certificates issued, such as family relation certificate or an ID certificate, it included information such as marital status, previous divorce, children from prior marriage, name change, adoption, and so on, which, depending on the situation, was both sensitive and unnecessary to disclose. So starting today, when you get any of these certificates issued, you can choose from 3 different subtypes based on the level of disclosure. So there's the most basic type that only has current information, and there's the comprehensive type that has everything, and then there's the one in the middle where you can pick and choose what to disclose and what to withhold.
I think it's a great change because when you go for a job interview, you have to get that certificate and then hand it in to the companies. But it had so many irrelevant information in it, or too much information, perhaps.
Right, so it will hopefully give them more control over their personal information and how it's disclosed.
Right.
In the meantime, our thoughts and prayers are with Little Chon Min-woo there.
Thank you
so
Ms.
much.
Arirang. And a special bazaar is going to take place today at 63 Square in Central Seoul. And our Chun Sung-cho is out there to bring us the details of how the preparations are going. Back to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning, guys. Yes, I'm here at the Convention Center in Seoul's landmark, the 6-3 building, also known as Hanwha 6-3 City. A very special event will be taking place here today from 10 a.m. this morning, so they're doing a bit of last-minute preparation right now. It's the 35th annual Siwa and Diplomatic Community Bazaar hosted by Siwa, which is Seoul International Women's Association, and the spouses of foreign ambassadors to Korea. The bazaar has been a major annual fundraising event by Siwa since the 1970s, and over 40 countries are participating this year, including Italy, Switzerland, and Israel. Everyone helping at the bazaar does so voluntarily, making it all the more meaningful, I think. So let's speak with the head of the association first. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so can you tell us how the association started holding this bazaar?
Sure, this was back in the 70s, over 35 years ago. Some ambassadors' wives came together to create some money for charity.
Right.
Yeah, they brought their goods from their home countries, as they still do today.
Wow, interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
All right, so as you can see, I see a big variety of items prepared for today, and I think it's also because there's so many countries participating in the association. You see all kinds of regional specialties and chocolate, and here is the Israeli booth. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, let's learn a little bit more about these items. So can you explain to us what kind of items are prepared?
Sure. So we have all kinds of items from Israel. In particular, we have things from the Dead Sea in Israel. So we've got a bunch of cosmetics here from the Dead Sea.
Wow, all the way from Israel.
All the way from the Dead Sea, the lowest place on earth. And we've got the usual, the wine and everything. I think what's really special is the issue of books. You know, we are the people of the book. And a lot of Israeli books for children and for adults have been translated from Hebrew to Korean, and today they're on sale here at really good prices, and of course it all is here to benefit the children and women of Korea, and we're very happy to participate in that and show our commitment to the community here.
Wow, that's very meaningful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the event will be taking place until 4 p.m. today, so you can feel free to stop by anytime you want. And also you can take a break at the International Food Court to try all different kinds of food and drinks from all over the world. And it's free to attend, so you can bring your friends, family, co-workers, neighbors, any people you want. You can eat, shop, and be merry, all for a good cause while having fun. This has been Chun Sung-cho, Korea Today.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off in the LPGA, where Stacey Lewis hoped to gain ground on the latest world rankings, with Park In-bi now participating at the 2014 LPGA Mizuno Classic over the weekend. But it was another Korean who took the title with a dramatic finish. Not just an incredible final round of the event, with Korea's Lee Mi-hyung, Lee Il-hee, and Japan's Kotono Kozuma sharing the lead after 18 holes of the final round, all at 11 under par overall. And it didn't take just a couple of sudden death playoff holes, but 5, as 21-year-old Lee Mi-hyung comes up on top with a clutch birdie to claim her first LPGA Tour title of her career. Meanwhile, world number 2 Stacey Lewis, who struggled a bit in the second round, finished off tied for 31st at 5 under par overall. And now shifting over to the 2014-2015 ISU Short Track World Cup, which kicked off its new season as the stars from the Sochi Winter Games continue their dominance in the sport. This includes Shin Da-eun, who won the men's 1,500-meter gold, and 17-year-old Shim Seok-hee, who won the gold medal in the women's 1,000-meter event for her 11th straight World Cup event with a gold medal finish. Meanwhile, Russia's Victor An, a.k.a. An Hyun-soo, would take the top podium spot at the men's 1,000-meter event. And now with that, shifting over to the 2014 Korean series between the Samsung Lions and the Nexen Heroes, who are set to face off in Game 5 of the best-of-7 series later tonight. And as usual, starting from Game 5 of the series, the Korean series will take place at Jamsil Stadium instead of the Mokdong Stadium or the Daegu Stadium, where the both teams play. With Samsung squeezing past Nexen in Game 3, Nexen answered back with a parade of home runs in Game 4, tying the series at 2-2. Meanwhile, a crucial Game 5 later tonight with the struggling Henry Sosa taking the mound for the Nexen Heroes, and Samsung's ace Rick Vandenherk taking the start as well. And speaking of which, we're going to move over to the K-League Classic this time, where the super match, the final super match of the season between the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings and FC Seoul took place on Sunday at the Suwon World Cup Stadium with Park Ji-sung in attendance. Now, with over 34,000 fans in attendance on Sunday, both sides played aggressively from the start, with both teams firing away 6 shots each in the first half, but none of those finding the back of the net. Now the second half kicks off, and Suwon decides to kick it up a notch here, firing away 10 more shots, but still failing to score. With the clock winding down and 3 minutes added on, it's Ko Yo-han in the 90 plus 3 minutes somehow heads one past the goalkeeper, a last-second goal, and a game winner, as FC Seoul wins the final super match of the season, 1-0. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Simon O, and that, of course, means it's time for Viral Feed, where we check out some of the hottest stories to be making waves on the internet. As always, we have a lineup of very fascinating stories for you today. And to get us started, we're going to talk about some Korean ads. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. These are pharmaceuticals ads. So what you're going for now is to guess which type of medication they're selling. Let's have a look.
김사원, 순댓국 할까? 예!
Sundaekguk is a stew made from pork and blood sausage in Korea. It's very delicious, but there's only so many times you can eat it before you get sick of it. So having eaten at the same restaurant all week, what might this new employee need? That's right, it's an ad for digestion medicine. Next up, we find an audition studio for a TV reporter. Now, a woman does her best to leave an impression, but it's sadly not enough. Oh no, dejected. So eating a hasty meal of bread soaked in tears? Again, what's needed is something to help digest it all. Now how about this? This one's my favorite. What kind of medicine are they advertising here?
Nose pipe sisters.
The nose pipe sisters. I love their confidence to start off. Now check this out. Believe it or not, that's being played through the nostrils. An ocarina joined by a recorder, and finally, to cap it off, a melodian, all performed expertly. Just listen to it with your eyes closed and you'd never guess that they aren't using their mouths.
Why are they using their nose?
That's the question. And it's also a hint. What is this an ad for? Nasal health, perhaps? Yep, it's a nasal spray that helps to get rid of congestion. Now watching this, I thought it was impressive, but also kind of nutty. I love that this is an ad that doesn't just give you the information about the medication they're selling, but also gives you not really a real-world demonstration, but a great illustration of how effective it is. So
do you want to give it a go? Us
Maybe.
too?
So if any of you guys have any problems with congestion in the morning, give that a go, and I'll bring in the instruments for you.
Okay, sure. Deal.
Let's move on to our second story. Now, this is great. There are many things to love about Korea. And today, I'd like to share with you a video which introduces several of Korea's charms in a calm, collected, and very informative way. Now, a foreign student studying here in Korea entered it into a Korean UCC festival. Let's see what he had to say.
저는 William입니다. A lot of my friends from outside Korea often ask me the question, why do I like Korea? So I put the answer inside this video.
First off, Phil cited Korea's traditions. Befitting a nation with a 5,000-year-old history, Korea is home to a unique and beautiful traditional culture. Next, of course, is food, samgyeopsal or grilled pork belly, hands-on stir-fried dishes, rice balls, and the ever-changing dessert trends are all part of what Korea has to offer culinarily. Nature, of course, is another beautiful part of Korea. We focus in the video on the breathtaking vistas of Jeju Island. Music, again, is a very, very big draw. Now, Bill particularly likes the amateur street performers, even more than the better-known K-pop stars. Some say that Seoul is most beautiful at night, and this one in particular, the Boryong Mud Festival, it almost seems more popular among foreigners than locals. Bill, by the way, is studying at Korea University, and he was entranced by the rivalry between his school and Yonsei University. Yeah, the choreographed cheers and the distinctly Korean sense of community, camaraderie.
They've created unforgettable memories for him during his stay
Minjo knows
here.
a thing or two about that one, right?
I think I do.
Pretty
After watching
impressive.
this video, I think it should be pretty clear to my friends why I like Korea. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. 안녕히 계세요.
Now, we here on the show, of course, are very aware of all the beautiful things, not very many of the beautiful things that Korea has to offer. I thought it was refreshing to have a foreigner sort of point them out for us. It was an interesting take on it. All right, moving on to our next story. A video posted by a young man in Bahrain has captivated viewers right here in Korea. Let's check it out. This is Bahrain at 5 in the morning.
قالت لي عمر في حالة غريبة أبيك تروح تصورها متى؟ الفير.
So what exactly is it that's so interesting? This must be the guy that we're looking for. At first glance, now you can tell that he's not a local. His hands are filled with plastic bags. What's going on here?
استثمر مليونير كل يوم يقوم من الصبح ينظف.
Check that out on the man's hat. It's a Korean flag, so I'm guessing he must be a Korean.
كتير ناس مريض صح مريض والله مشكلة لكن يوزع الخمام على ريسايكلينج هذا كله فلوس طبعا هذه الأكياس خاصة من كوريا
So each morning this man gets up at the crack of dawn to voluntarily clean up the streets.
Is that how he made his millions?
Sadly, no. I mean, obviously his frugalness did help. His frugality did help, but that's just how humble he is.
Okay, so he's an investor, so he has a job, he's a very successful man. But he does this just on his free time.
He thought that it was something that was needed. He looked around the street in the neighborhood he was looking in, or living in, and he said, this could use some cleaning up.
نشوف في غلط وما نستحمل نشوف غلط يعني. يا سلام. أنت قيمة وليس سلعة تقدمها لنا كشباب
And as you can see, he's had an impression on the locals as well. Apparently, he's become quite a sensation locally. A lot of people have been talking about him. And it's just, I think he has an inspiring lesson, not just for the young people here in Bahrain, but everyone, because it's very easy for us, because we're all so busy and because we have such busy lives, to get a little bit selfish. We see something on the street that we don't pick up and pass by. Not really my problem. But here's a guy who's a millionaire. His life is made, and he said, look, there's still things I can do to contribute, and I think that's wonderful.
And people like him give Korea a good name because you know he's wearing that hat with the Korean flag on it. So
I can't
he
think
goes
of
around,
a better
does things
ambassador.
like that.
Yeah, I can't think of a better ambassador.
You know what? I'll make you
Korea.
guys a promise right now. If I become a millionaire, then I'll go ahead and pick up trash.
Why don't you do that now? Start doing
If
that.
you become a millionaire young, I'll join you. Alrighty, moving on to our final story. This one's great. Now, a bit of a spoiler. There is going to be talk about babies in just a couple of minutes, but I wanted to warm you up. For parents of newborn babies, I understand that putting the child to sleep is the hardest task of all, followed closely by keeping that sleeping baby asleep. Now, here are some tips for those who haven't really gotten the hang of it yet. Let's take a look. Babies can really be like little angels, but it's a different story when they refuse to go to sleep and they're all colically. So
you know that works.
Yeah, I hear that a hair dryer
or a hair dryer.
Yeah, will relax a baby.
the water running.
Yeah, either that or a fluffy towel showing the baby its own face in a smartphone. I like this one. It's almost like a Vulcan mind grip. Stroking certain babies in certain parts of their bodies would put them to sleep. And as you can see, they're back being angels. Now this is awesome. How do you keep the sleeping baby asleep? There's the replacement, in which case the teddy bear fills in for daddy. Doesn't know a thing. The creaky floor. Now, if a floor creaks, it's going to wake the child up. So you mark the places where the floor is silent. And it's like Indiana Jones trying to get to the grail. I love it. And my favorite, the ninja. This woman puts Hollywood spy actresses to shame, stealthily getting out of there. Of course, it doesn't work all the time, but at least you have a couple of tips to draw from. Now, I'm not a parent yet, so yeah, as a dad, would you say that those are pretty good tips?
No, the vacuum cleaner and the hair dryer Those two, for some strange reason, they put the kids right to bed.
My
It's the
understanding
white
is,
noise, apparently.
my
It's the white
understanding
noise
is
effect.
that's
It masks
actually-
other noise.
And it's also something that very closely resembles what the babies hear while in their mommy's womb.
That's what I've
it's
heard
very
too.
soothing for them. If it were me, if I were trying to get some shut-eye and someone was in the next room vacuum cleaning or drying their hair, I think I'd be a little bit upset. Well, that does look pretty offensive.
That's because you're not a baby.
So when it's time for
My
you,
wife would beg to differ.
invest in a new
Good one
vacuum
there.
cleaner just in case.
Thanks,
yeah,
Simon.
I'm going to have to work on that. So that's it for Power Fleet this week. I'll be back next week with more. Ciao for now.
All right, hashtag curious in Korea. Now, we do have this thing called a 돌잔치, and that is to celebrate the very first birthday. Do you remember your 돌잔치?
My 돌잔치?
Not your 돌잔치, but your kid's 돌잔치.
Of course I remember my kid's 돌잔치. It was a few years ago, but
So
I made
what did
the
they grab?
biggest... Oh, she grabbed a pen. I was so
Pen.
happy.
So
Right,
she's going to be
gonna
studious,
a scholar. Right?
Right, all right. So we do a dinner at the same time. There's this thing called the 돌잡이, where we put a bunch of items in front of the kid, and whatever they grab is supposed to say something about what they want to become in the future.
I'm curious as to what you grabbed. We'll get to that in a minute. Chelsea Arnold joins us this morning. Sorry to cut you off a little there.
No, and you went and found out all about this, right?
Oh yeah, because I'm full of curious, as you can tell. So I noticed that in Korea, the first birthday, it seems like such a big deal. But you know, in America, it's kind of like, oh, happy birthday, it's your first. You know, it's just the first birthday.
Isn't it still a big deal in America? I mean, it's the child's first.
I think it depends on the family. Like if it's like an only child, or like, you know, or maybe a family that has like a lot of money or something like that, they'll have an extravagant party. But I think for the most part, it's very like subtle. Yeah, so this is something I was kind of curious about, you know, this time around.
So while you were in Korea, have you ever been to a 돌잔치 before?
You know, no.
No?
Because actually my friends are at the marriage stage, like they just getting married, things like that. They haven't quite reached the baby milestone yet. So I can say with confidence I haven't actually had this experience yet. But because of this investigation, I was able to experience it, and it was extravagant.
Okay, we'll check it out.
The 돌잔치, or first birthday celebration, is an old Korean tradition. In particular, it includes an event called the 돌잡이, a fun way to try to predict the baby's future. A typical 돌잔치 can be so big that it includes not just close friends and family, but even work colleagues. In modern times, the format has changed a lot, but the significance of the celebration remains. Let's take a look. There are several venues in Seoul that cater specifically to 돌잔치 gatherings. I made a visit to one of them with an invitation, of course. At first, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. How much would it cost to hold a party here? I was told that a middle-class Korean family spends $2,000 to $3,000 for 돌잔치. That, oh my God, that is so pricey for a baby's birthday.
It's actually a little bit on the cheaper side.
So this place is so luxurious. It has a cafe here, and then there's a gallery, and there's a buffet. But what is this all for? The first thing that struck me about the Korean 돌잔치 was the extravagant formalities. It looks like there must be 50 guests. The parents are dressed in hanbok, the traditional garments mostly reserved for special occasions. It definitely seems like a big deal.
In the past, babies often died within a year of their birth, so the first birthday was very meaningful. Nowadays, of course, the meaning is different. It's about sharing the joy of a new family member with lots of people and having a good time together.
A long time ago, Koreans considered the first year to be an important milestone. A celebration with good food and loved ones gathered was a sort of prayer for the baby's continued good health.
In the past, relatives both near and far would gather together. They'd prepare food at home and rice cakes. Closer relatives even stayed overnight. It was tiring but more intimate.
The first birthday celebration isn't just a Korean tradition, it's quite common throughout Asia. For instance, the first birthday is an important family event in Kazakhstan. In Java, Indonesia, the village altar was used around the 100th day after a baby's birth to hold a ceremony praying for the baby's well-being in the future. And that adorable little baby is me.
Is that
Chelsea.
you? Oh my goodness.
In the States, of course, we have birthday parties every year, but the first one isn't any more or less important. Now, let's really get into the world of dorjanchi as I experienced it. First, guests write messages of congratulations to the baby as they arrive. They're mostly wishes for good health and fortune. And of course, I did my part. The guests also participate in another activity aside from their messages, but I'll get into more depth of that later. But the guests have to make a choice. 반찬봉, 점진기, 실, 연필. And I split it in half and then choose two. 안 돼요? If the baby's choice matches the guest, they receive a gift. Okay? Famous person?
A microphone.
Very studious. Would I be able to receive a present? With the appearance of dorjanchi MC, the highlight of the celebration begins, the dorchabi.
I guess the microphone stands for like to become a celebrity,
right?
Of some
A singer
sort. Right.
or a dancer.
Dorchabi items in the past were very different, since the profession a child could pursue and values were different.
시리아, 예, 그럼 돈을 보시면서 시리라는 것이요. 자, 우리 아빠는요? 마이크요. 좀 위험한 거 좋아하시나 봐요.
저는 판사봉이요.
당연히 돈이 좋죠.
청진기. 무조건 돈이죠.
청진기 잡았으면 좋겠어요. 연필을 잡았으면 좋겠어요.
청진기 잡으면 좋겠다고요. 했어요.
Some of them have golf balls and baseballs too, depending on what their father
days,
likes.
right.
I had a bowling ball.
It turned out to be much more suspenseful than I expected. At first, it looked like the baby would go for the string, but that didn't work. My prediction of the microphone and pencil turned out to be so wrong.
She's taking her time. So cute.
Another essential part of modern celebration is
it would be
the
great if
screening
our
of a
baby
video.
really did become a doctor, but that's not really important. I just hope for her to be healthy.
Another essential part of modern celebration is the screening of a video chronicling the baby's first year. Everything is new for the baby, but new parents are experiencing first too. So this is a chance to look back and reaffirm that even the hardest times were joyful.
Just seeing you is enough to make me smile.
I hope you will grow to work and talk soon so that you can be a friend to your parent.
Stay as bright and pretty as you are now. I love you. I hope she'll grow to be healthy and confident and wise.
So today I got to experience the first birthday Korean style, and it was fabulous. It was extravagant. It was dazzling. There was a photo shoot. There was a buffet. A blend of traditional and modern, the dorjanchi was a fun and meaningful experience.
So we have some rice cakes in the studio. These are always present at dorjanchis, and this is
백설기,
yes,
right?
this
Look at my
particular one is
little
백설기.
heart right in the middle. It's so cute for a baby girl.
Right.
I guess if it's a baby boy, they go for a baby blue. Right.
I
Exactly.
wonder why the 백설기 though? Why the 백설기 for every?
Well, actually, it's made out of like steamed white rice, and the color the white color represents longevity, actually. So that's why it's usually present at first birthday celebration.
That's right. And the red bean cake represents the fighting off the evil spirits. And it's right in the birthday parties until the baby turns 10. So for every year.
Out of health concerns, perhaps, in the past. And Chelsea, you made 2 votes for the Toijevi, but I guess you made the wrong guesses.
Twice.
So you didn't have the chance to get any gifts at the event?
Well, I didn't, of course, win, but I actually did. For every guest that arrived, we actually got these really cute little plate gift sets. Yeah, so I did get one of those. Those are absolutely adorable.
Yeah, in Korean we call it a tamle, and then they either give you little towels with the baby's name printed on it, or some kind of a souvenir just to thank you for being there. But what did you get the child? I mean, apparently there is a special gift that we are supposed to give on 돌잔치's, and it's made of 24-karat gold.
Yeah, yes, I heard that it's like you provide a gold ring. But actually, gold is so expensive.
These
so
days.
actually, this tradition is being faded out.
It's a little cheaper now.
Well, I mean, but it's something that's being faded out, this particular tradition. But no, I didn't prepare anything, but I did sing Happy Birthday very beautifully.
All right. That's all we need, right?
And I heard that there are a lot of people who want to make this celebration the more meaningful, so they donate the money that they are supposed to use for this 돌잔치.
Some people do that.
They do. And also, these days, they also have a little more intimate gathering now. It's not as extravagant. Some people actually just have family that gather at home and have like a little shindig together.
So what do you think of 돌잔치 for a future child later on?
Oh yes, that was fabulous. I can't wait. I was like, I'm actually pretty excited because when I saw it, I was like, is this 결혼식? Is this like a wedding hall? But it was for a first birthday. I was like, I'm on this. I'm ready.
All right. Thank you so much, Chelsea.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Well, the moment of truth, what did you grab to wrap up?
I don't remember.
Of course you don't remember. Your parents should tell you, but we'll find out another time. All right, well, that's just about it for this edition of Korea Today.
All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.